Hey everyone, it's Joe Cosentino. Welcome to my first podcast, Coffee with Cosentino. I'm the broker owner, a couple of real estate companies in the Bronx and Westchester, Connecticut. I also work in Florida. Today, this podcast is going to be sponsored by Cross Country Mortgage Bank. We have a branch in the Bronx in Morris Park. And with us today is John Kelly. He's the branch manager for Cross Country Mortgage Bank. Welcome, John.
Thanks for having me, Joe. Appreciate it.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on the first podcast.
Absolutely, brother.
So, John, tell us about your family, about your background, where you come from.
So I'm a Bronx guy. My family's originally from Highbridge, believe it or not. So we grew up by Yankee Stadium. I moved out of there when I was a young kid, moved up a little bit further north. So I'm from basically University Avenue area by Fordham Road, Kingsbridge Road. I grew up there. I went to Cardinal Spelman High School, which when we met, which maybe 8 or 9 years ago, we realized we had like 30, 40 friends in common, which was nice. Exactly. So it's like we met, we hit it off right away because we had so many friends in common. And
You played sports, you played football.
of course.
You know, a lot of guys on the football team.
Correct. And so basically, the Bronx has been good to me. My office is in the Bronx. I currently live in Queens, ironically, because I married a Queens girl. But born and raised in the Bronx. Fortunately, I do a lot of business in the Bronx. And it's funny because I do deals now for people I went to high school with that, I haven't seen in 20, 25 years, and they happen to stop by, and it's like, wow, what a small world. And neighborhood people. And basically, I've been here at Morris Park now for what is it about? You found me the space.
Yes, I did. You were in Manhattan. You guys were working in the city, I think, in Wall Street.
Correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you asked me to find you a space, and then it just happened to be Morris
Morris
Park,
Park,
right next to Emilio's Pizza.
Ground zero, perfect place.
We grabbed the spot, and
absolutely.
we were off to the races.
And the rest is history. Thank you. Appreciate that. That was a great space. And
now you just moved. What's the new address?
It's right down the block, 1061, same block, about 3 stores down, the exact same building I was renting. It was a fantastic deal, thankfully, because it's the exact same building, but I was able to purchase the building as opposed to rent the building. So long run, I'm here for the long term. I planted my seeds here. And like I said, I think the Bronx is a great place for me to do my business, but it's a great place for me to do my business because it's a great place to live, great place to invest. And I'm very happy here.
And we always like to have a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And there's this is true. And it's a good group of guys that our circle is a really good circle. A lot of guys have been in the business for a very long time. And girls, of course, guys and girls, and just good, decent people and great people to do business with. We work hard, we play hard, we have a lot of fun, and it's nice because we all kind of look out for each other.
Right. So tell us about your occupation.
So as Joe stated, I'm the branch manager of Cross Country Mortgage here in the Bronx. I've been in the mortgage business now. We're pretty much the exact same start time in the real estate business. I got in the business like 2006-ish. And prior to that, I was a retail stockbroker from like the early 90s up until 2001. Post 2001. Crazy time. September 11th, I lost my business. It was down on Wall Street, and I became a day trader. And from day trading, which is an extremely difficult way to make a living, I got into the mortgage business, and the rest is history. As soon as I got in the mortgage business, I took off immediately. I did very well, and haven't looked back, thankfully.
And how do you feel you're a benefit to the community? Being in the Bronx, doing a lot of mortgages in the Bronx. What's your benefit to the community?
Well, I would say I deal with a lot of first-time home buyers. And for me, myself, I didn't grow up in a house. There was 9 of us living in an apartment. And so, I know the benefit of being able to be that first-time home buyer in your family, creating the first step in creating generational wealth. And, there's lots of people right now that, we're doing deals for, and now they're selling, and they're walking away with $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 in their pocket because they bought 20 years ago, and they would never be in that position had they not bought that house 15 or 20 years ago. So it's truly a life-changing experience.
And I always say the same. You could work your whole life and you could be a saver, and you still couldn't save as much money as you could make on real estate.
Never happened. Never happened.
People
So,
that were smart and took your advice, bought houses, even in the last 10 years.
of course, absolutely. And it's funny because I'll see people in the neighborhood, and when in the process of doing that deal, because some of these deals are easy, some of them aren't, and it can get stressful, it can get a lot of tension, things
Know
go
that.
wrong, and then you see that guy a year later, and it's like I've had guys walk into my office and give me a hug with tears in their eyes, like you took such good care of me, and which makes me feel good because obviously, you want to do the right thing by these people, but at the same time, sometimes when you're helping somebody, they don't realize how much you're helping them. Like you and I know the long term what's going to happen, but when they're in that exact, they're
All they're looking at
nervous.
is a rate. They're
Correct.
looking at, oh my goodness, I got to pay all
I'm
this
paying
money.
$1,200 a month in rent. My mortgage payment's going to be $3,000. How do I do this? And that's a lot of stress there. And our job is to obviously, one, educate them, two, tuck them in, three, make sure they're doing something they should be doing because not everybody should be a homeowner, but ultimately, if you can check all those boxes, and then that guy's in. Like a perfect example is the guy that owns Healthy Fresh. Every time I see that guy, I mean, he's got a smile from ear to ear, a big hug, and
Bought his first house in Morris Park.
correct, yeah.
And he loves it.
Yeah, what a great guy, and it's just nice to see these people on a daily basis. And there's a lot of realtors that we both know who I've done the deals for them, and I run into them. And some of these deals were primary residences, some were investment properties, and 3, 4, 5 years ago in a blink of an eye. And 3 or 4 or 5 years in the last 5-year time frame means you're up 200,000 or 300,000 in equity for some of these deals. So it's
Nah, it's important to have that. Of
course.
Being on social media today, I see a lot of, misinformation. I see a lot of people like just being a glory guy and they want the best rah-rah situation. It's not reality.
Correct.
And advice to the public, I always like to give good advice to people. You might not agree with my advice, but I try to give honest and truth.
correct.
And I want you to just talk to the people out there of that we don't know or don't know us. What good advice can you give someone who's maybe thinking about buying but is nervous about these rates right now and the economy and should I keep renting? Should I buy? There's a lot of uncertainty. So just give them a little advice.
Great question. You and I go back and forth often. Like you'll see something on social media, you send it to me, or I send it to you. The ridiculousness is insane. And so what happens a lot of times in any market, but when it gets very hot, like the real estate market has, is every Tom, Dick, and Harry decides to get in that market. And now you have a lot of people that have been in the business 18 months who have absolutely no business giving you any kind of financial advice, portraying themselves to be experts, and they're not.
We've both been down. We've both been down the crash of the housing crash. We've both been down that road before. It's not fun.
Definitely not.
But one good thing is it does weed out a lot of unprofessional people.
Of course.
I saw that in 07, 08. It's happened to me, and you have to be, but you have to have the ability to maneuver yourself and reinvent yourself. So, knock on wood, we had a great run. I mean, I tell everyone, if you didn't make money in the last few years, then you shouldn't be in this business.
Correct.
And I know you say that all the time too. And if you didn't buy real estate, and and invest your money as you made it, you missed the boat.
Correct.
Now you got to wait for the cycle to come around again. So I always like to tell people, if you have the money, you have the job, you have good credit, you have money saved, buy a property.
Pull the trigger.
Even if it's a condo, small house, a 2-family. I always recommend a multifamily as the first property. I like the multifamilies because you got income to pay the mortgage and help you pay your bills. You buy a single family, what do you have? It's
got
money
that.
coming out of your pocket every month. There's no cash flow. It's basically you're working to pay a mortgage.
Liability.
So the multifamilies, obviously, we both own multifamilies, and the rents help you pay the mortgage.
Absolutely. And the beauty of buying the multifamily first is, let's say you get into a multifamily with an FHA loan, 3.5% down. You can turn around and buy a single family house in 6 months with 5% down. But and there's nothing wrong with buying the one family first. If that's, everybody's different. So I always listen to people say, because I'm not going to advise Mr. Joe to do the same thing as Mr. Tom. It's just two different scenarios. But you have to, we've been around a long time, and sometimes I really do know what's best, but I'll never push anybody in the direction they don't want to go. I'll let them tell me, hey, this is our goals. And I'd say, hey, I think this is the best course of action for you, but then I let them decide. But I would say, the multifamily, if you're a person out there who hasn't purchased yet, and if you could find yourself a multifamily, and then, you can keep that forever, stay there forever if you want, but it also leaves the door open to eventually jump into a single family, 5% down payment. and now you're an investor and a homeowner. Who's better than you?
Yeah, and then you take that multifamily and you flip it to an investment property, put it in an LLC. There's just so many tax
10
advantages.
years later, you're a
and-
multimillionaire.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And you refinance it, you pull money out, you buy another property, and you keep doing the same process over and over.
I always say it's simple. It's just not easy. You know, it's a lot. It can be stressful. It can be, you know, you obviously need
Tenants
money.
obviously is not easy.
But there's a lot of very, very wealthy people that aren't the most intelligent people in the world that got rich with real estate. And you know, it's, you know, I laugh because you haven't heard anybody talk about NFTs or Forex or, you know, everybody was a trader a year ago. I got NFTs. I have this. Like, it's silent.
Silent.
And the amount I'd go on Instagram and I'd have like these messages from random strangers. They're a Forex expert. They're an NFT expert. And of course I would delete everything, but that's completely out the window. Right. But the guy who bought a 3-family, you know, 5 years ago, his tenants are still paying the rent. He's up multiple 6 figures in equity, and he's doing fantastically well.
Appreciated that.
Not a sexy story, you know, not I bought it at 10 and it went to
Slow and
150.
steady wins
Exactly.
the race.
Correct. Slow and steady wins the race. Perfectly said.
So let's talk about recreation. What do you like to do for fun? What sports teams do you like? You know, do you watch sports? Obviously, your young children are getting to that age, keep you busy. So
For me, I'm a big gym guy, a big health guy. I like to take care of myself. Longevity. I got married late, so my kids are young, and I'm like, you know, I got to stay in shape.
the energy
Keep
levels
the energy
up.
level. My son, every morning, he wants to go downstairs in the basement, and he puts on the boxing gloves. He's 6 years old, and he's like, Dad, let's box. I'm like, oh my God.
my son's 15. He wants a box.
Yeah,
he hits hard.
Yeah, I was going to say I can get away with it at 6. At 16, probably not. But I'd like to take care of myself. You know, I'm like yourself. Like we're both workaholics.
Fitness,
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to work at a high level if your body isn't running at an optimal level. So both go hand in hand. For fun, you know, we go out a lot. You know, right now tonight we're going to do a nice dinner. It's going to be about 8 to 10 realtors. And, you know, one, it's just good networking, but two, it's really like just to let off steam. Like we just have so much. I wake up the next day and I don't drink. And my wife's like, you know, like I'm hungover. She goes, what you drinking last night? I laughed so hard. You know, I had such a good time that I got a pounding headache and I feel like I'm hungover because, you know, we just had such a fun time and everybody's a character and it's a lot of similar personalities. Guys are all workaholics, good family guys. And, you know, so I enjoy my time. You know, I enjoy doing the work with the people I do the work with, which is nice.
Yep. So do I. I enjoy our company. You know, we have a good group of guys that we, you know, all business people. We network amongst each other, and we keep it, you know, tight.
Yep.
We really, it's a good network group of guys. We have a lot of fun. You know, people see the glory. They don't see what, you know, what goes behind the scenes sometimes, all the stress that we get into.
Correct.
But none of us ever raise our voice.
Never.
We stay calm. You know, we're professionals. We understand things happen. I don't yell at you. You don't yell at me. We never raise our voices or turn off our clients or customers. You know, we always try to be patient and, you know, teach them rather than be harsh with people.
I mean, we've been doing this long enough where it's almost to the point if there's not a problem, I start to get a little worried. You know, this is going too
Something
smooth.
go wrong.
Yeah.
Something
So
going on.
we're in the problem business. So ultimately, you know, if you've been doing this long enough, you know, don't get me wrong, there's days my blood pressure goes up. But at the end of the day, the key to the game is he who stays calmest wins. That's my theory. And there's going to be headaches and disasters and problems. And that's really any business. But on our business in particular, you have an attorney, 2 realtors, a bank, a title company, to a buyer or seller. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of different personalities. And it definitely takes a unique individual and a unique mindset to be able to deal with all of that, keep everybody calm, get everybody on the same page. And fortunately, you and I are capable of doing that.
You also have to educate people too.
Every step
We
of the
just
way.
had a situation with credit, and you know, people don't understand that credit affects. You're buying a home. Credit is the biggest factor. Obviously, your income is big too,
Correct.
but I would put credit right up there, and people don't realize. You open up a credit card.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to go buy a new car. You know, this isn't going to affect me. I could not pay my mortgage this month.
Correct. Or when I bought a house 11 years ago, I didn't have to go through this process. You know.
It's a stressful, and it's really, you know, you have to cross your T's, dot your I's on every deal.
Correct.
And make sure you don't leave anything out. You're very detail orientated, which is great. And It's a pleasure working with
Likewise, brother. And you know, one other thing I wanted to point out is you need a team. Like, it's much more beneficial if the realtor has a good relationship with the bank and the realtor have a great relationship with the attorney, because there's deals where I don't have to tell you, like, I'm calling the realtor because we have a problem. Realtor's not getting back to me.
It's crickets.
Correct. The attorney has, I've
Checked
reached out to
out.
attorneys, 15, 20 emails, not one response ever. I've done deals like that. And so if you're going to be involved in a transaction that's going to have its share of hiccups, and I can just call you at 8 o'clock at night, you're picking up on one, hey, John, what's up, buddy? Or we're calling this attorney, or we're calling the title company. It just makes for such a much easier transaction. And people don't realize that, but it's like, you know, you want a great realtor, but you want a realtor that has a great relationship with that attorney, that bank, etc., because it's going to make for a much smoother
That's the
transaction.
team.
Correct.
I'm a big, believer in a team. This is a team sport. This is not an individual
Correct.
sport. We all work as a team to get to the end of the line. Obviously, we want to close. We all want to get paid, but then you have the homeowner who's really the one that we have to watch out
Absolutely.
for, because they're the ones that's left paying a mortgage, raising a family, paying all these bills, and making sure that this is the right choice.
Absolutely.
So your dreams and your goals. So obviously, we all have dreams. We all have goals. Tell us, where would you like to be in 5 years?
Great question. So for me, I have 2 young children, and I talk to them. I'm sure you do the same with your kids, because there was no financial literature in my family. We're all blue collar
as you
workers.
go.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, I always try, and my wife, fortunately, she's very successful. We try to instill that in our children, just so they have a grasp of, you have to work hard and you have to do well in school, and all these little things add up. So the little thing I'm making you do today might not seem like it's that important, but let me post the big picture for you. And so the plan, truthfully, would be to be in a position where I'm handing my son and my daughter the baton. And because I feel like no matter what your parents did, you should always be at the next level. It should never be like, well, my dad did this and I'm taking a step back. It should never be that. And so I'd like to be in a position where I'm financially independent, meaning I don't need to work if I don't want to. But the truth is, I like doing these deals. I genuinely, as crazy as it is, I enjoy the action. I really do. And I know you're the same way. And
I could never be a stay-home
Never.
person, ever.
Never. During COVID, I was in the office every day. I missed like one day. I always joke, I go to work to relax. My wife and kids are home with the nanny. Honey, I'm going to work. But it's a blizzard outside. Don't worry, I'll be fine.
That's it.
And
I gotta go get the mail.
yeah, I enjoy the action. I enjoy, the process. I just enjoy it. And I think you could never really be that successful in this business unless you truly do enjoy it, because it's like a sport. This is a tough game to play.
It's a marathon.
It's a marathon, correct. And to be in a position where 5 years down the road, I can pick and choose more or less the deals that I want to do, have my investment properties bringing in a certain amount of cash flow on a monthly basis, and, just put my kids in a good position where, for me, the amount of jobs I had as a kid, I was a butcher, a bodyguard, a bouncer, the amount of things I had to do to scrape by,
Just to make some money.
Yeah, I remember, I'm sure, same with you. You're a young kid, you're on a date, you got your credit card. I think I got $82 left on this card. You know what I mean? You're at $68 right now, and you're sweating. I never want my kids to go through that. At the same time, I want them to have the wherewithal and the mindset to appreciate what their father and mother went through. And so, like I said, they can take the baton and take it to the next level. So teach them those values that you and I have and that work ethic. At the same time, have them take it to the next level.
Great advice. I instill the same thing on my children. They're adults almost. And it's hard. Today they're just so influenced by social media and what they see. They see the end product, but they look at me and they're like, wow, you work hard, Dad. I don't know if I could work that hard.
Right.
But then they see they have a nice life. We have a nice, like you said, we're able to give them an opportunity, go to good schools, go to college, finish their degrees. And then obviously I tell them, just be happy. Pick a career. I didn't pick this career. It picked me. Like you, we went through some rough times.
Yep.
I sold my business. I got into the real estate business back when the market was great in 2005, and construction was booming everywhere. And real estate happened to just take off back then. And the Bronx was just up and up and up. And then the market crashed. And then we were like, what are we going to do now? So, it was basically reinventing ourselves and sticking to our traditional values, helping the customers, trustworthy, being loyal, being hardworking, dedicated. And I went back to work in my house, and then basically from there, he took a job. I said, I have a family, I got to put food on the table. Real estate, no one comes and brings us a paycheck.
Right.
Just like John, if we're not selling, we're not earning.
Correct.
And there was no banking. Banks were just shut down back
Yeah.
then, and it was a rough time. I don't see that happening now. I see, even though we do have some hard times ahead, I feel like the market is still strong, especially in the Bronx. I mean, I'm getting bidding wars are back. I can't believe it, but people are just afraid, I think, to pay more,
Correct.
and they don't see prices crashing. They don't see rates going down. All they see is things going up.
Yeah.
Prices going up. So if they don't buy now, how's this thing going to look in a year?
Correct.
Then I really can't afford to buy a house. So let me get in now. There's a good house. I can afford it. My banker gave me a pre-approval. Let's go buy the house. Let's at least try. And I feel like the confidence level on that side is stronger now than it was even a couple of months ago.
I agree.
I feel like a couple of months ago, people were very nervous and very hesitant. And now they got through a few months. The holidays are over. I think they calmed down a little bit. Spring is coming.
Rates have come down a
Rates
little
will
bit.
come down a little, and they'll make more if people will start making offers on houses again.
Absolutely. The other thing too is that, you and I had this conversation the other day. Market hasn't really pulled back at all, and so you see so much stuff in the media, which I don't watch the news anymore. But I saw something online the other day about like CNN, what it does to like cortisol levels. Like it legitimately increases people's stress, and so fear sells. And there's lots of people selling panic and fear. And make no mistake about it, there's parts of the country that are going to get hit. I just remember, my business right now is in the Bronx. Pre-2007, I used to do refinances all over the country. And that business got wiped out, as you know, we just discussed it. The only area that held strong was the 5 boroughs. And I remember telling myself, once I rebuild my business, I'm only going to do purchase business, and I'm only going to do it in the 5 boroughs. Because I was doing refinances at the time in about 40 states. And, places like Las Vegas, Florida, upstate New York, annihilated. I would call a guy and say, hey, you know what? I see your interest rate is at 7%. You want to refinance? Yes, let's do it. What's the value of your home? The guy would say, well, I had it appraised, or I bought it a year ago for $600,000. Great. Send out the appraiser, come back $395. I mean, it was shocking. Every single
50%
deal
of its value gone.
with the exception of the 5 boroughs. And every single deal I got in the 5 boroughs was piece of cake. And I thought it was shocking. And listen, it's the greatest city in the world. But at the end of the day, it's not like, they just took a whole plot of land in the Bronx and built up 300 new homes. It just doesn't happen. And so it's just a different animal. And I think, Westchester as well. I was on the phone with a realtor, her name, I'll leave it off the call. But there's no inventory in Westchester, zero. So one
Put a house on, it's like boom.
Yeah, there's nothing.
As long as it's priced right.
As long as it's priced right. But at the end of the day, you have no choice anyway because there's no inventory. And so I think there's a bit of a standstill now because guys like me, I would love to upgrade, but my interest rate is so low. And so it's kind of a standstill. And so I think they raised the rates too quickly.
Too fast.
Correct. And I think as they come down, I think, again, my very strong opinion, we were discussing this the other day, there hasn't really been a major pullback. If these rates come back down, these prices are going to go right back up aggressively. And so it's a tough spot to be in as a first-time home buyer. As a guy who already owns a home,
right.
It's like, do I really want to give up my low interest rate? But you must,
I went to see a house yesterday, and the guy, it's a friend of mine. He's paying 2.5%. And I'm like, do you really want to sell? Because you're going to pay 6.5%, and you got all this equity in the house. You're basically making a lateral move to go buy a condo. Just stay here.
Doesn't make sense for him.
Yeah, it doesn't really pay.
Yeah. Let me point one thing out to you, but think about that advice you gave to him. Most people would never give him that advice. They tell him you have to sell.
I want the listing. Sell.
Of course. And it's like just to be in business with a guy who's going to tell you the honest truth. This doesn't make sense. You sent me a referral friend of yours looking to do a cash out refinance on a condo it was an investment property. And I remember saying to the guy, quote unquote, that the only guy who benefits off this deal is me. It makes no sense for you to do this refinance. And, he said, you know what, thank you for being so honest with me. We never did a deal after, but I know if anybody ever mentions my name to that guy, that's a stand-up guy.
Just honest, trustworthy banker. Well, thank you for being on my first podcast. It was a great interview. And I hope everyone out there enjoyed it. Joe Cosentino, owner of Morris Park Realty, Westchester Realty Consultants. Thank you for joining us. And John Kelly from Cross Country Mortgage Bank in Morris Park.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.